What's up, everyone? Thank you for listening to another episode of the Sawyer Brothers Show. Please be sure to follow and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and then follow our podcast accounts and SDI accounts on all socials. We post daily on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. We appreciate the support and listens greatly. Okay, episode 13, solo pod edition, just me tonight. Griff's currently working at the hospital. As you guys know, he's a nurse, and he's normally on midnight, so his shift is normally like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. We had a plan to record yesterday on Sunday, January 21st, but we did not anticipate the Detroit Lions still being in the playoffs at this point, and they obviously had a game yesterday, so we wanted to make sure we were just able to, focus on that, take in the day, spend some time at our mom's house for a family dinner, and then, just kind of hung out for the rest of the night. So, it's been our goal to post weekly, and we've posted every Wednesday since we posted our first episode, except for one during the holidays. So I wanted to just try and, do a solo pod. Normally, leading up to one of these, me and Griff just kind of put together some notes on some things that we want to talk about and just kind of, go back and forth on that together, as you know. But with it just being me, I followed the same process. I, made a list of notes, and I'm just going to kind of go through it myself and see where it takes me. So I will say the biggest thing that's different without Griff being here is normally, because we don't want to be a nuisance to each other, and we're just, like most things in life, you're more critical of yourself. We'll normally put the camera up, click record, make sure we're sitting in a spot that we can, you can see us in the camera. Then we'll walk around. I'll click record, do a test run with the audio to make sure we can just the mics are plugged in and working and everything. And then from there, hit record and just go. And there obviously is some times whenever we, mess up and we start over again, or we'll trim parts off. But I think I have clicked stop and record 15 times today. Like I said, normally whenever it's me and Griff, we try not to bother each other and just click record and go. It is just me, so I have been going and starting and stopping multiple times. So when I click play on this one, I said I'm not doing it again. So here we are. Okay. First of all, appreciate you guys, all your feedback on the Fellas Pod episode that we recorded in Charlotte with our buddies. Obviously, we were visiting Ty and Kenny, and Bren came along with us, so that was something that was fun for us. That was our second one. We did one back at Christmas, and, it seemed like we had a better idea of how that one was going to go just because we followed a little bit more of a list and some questions. So my mom and a lot of people had commented about just how crazy some of the opinions were. And I think that's partially why it got the feedback it did, was because we're pretty opinionated people, but we were arguing about ridiculous things, like the balance or the ratio of peanut butter and jelly, what's better, lunch and dinner on the previous podcast, a whole bunch of debates on jerseys and stuff. So if you have questions or debates or things that you and your friends are constantly, going back on or discussing, definitely send us a message, because a lot of those things we talked about, specifically in that first Fellas Pod version, came from recommendations from other people. So we'd love to get your feedback on it, because we'd love to incorporate your guys' common debates and topics. It's just another idea and something for us to talk about. So yeah, like I said, it's been our goal to post weekly, and it's one of those things where if you commit to doing something regularly, you're going to build some momentum, and that effort every week or every day, every month is going to compound on top of each other, and you're going to see better results because of that. Most things in our life, if we think about it, are built on compounding efforts over time. So we don't normally just create something and then it's just one and done. It's normally a matter of effort over, daily, over a week, month, year, maybe a whole lifetime, that you get better with, or you just improve and adjust and evolve over time. And the podcast's been something like that as well. I mean, this is our 13th episode, but even the way we handled things, the first episode, the second episode, the third episode, we have changed a lot of different things, like minor tweaks and whatnot, over that time period. And the only reason we've been able to continuously adjust those things and improve is because we've made it a priority to do it weekly and to commit to that process. So it's not like if we did it every other week, it would totally change everything, but we know it's just part of that flow of our week right now, that where we record, we think about ideas for the next one, we edit it, we post it, get feedback, that type of thing. So I think that's important in life, is to just kind of take it, day by day, lay that brick by brick to build that house, and just keep on going as you go, because you have to keep building on one thing after another. Along with that, compounding is one thing, but when you start compounding after a certain amount of time, you get some momentum. And that's why streaks, whether they're cold streaks, hot streaks, in all aspects of life, they make a huge difference, and they're pretty noticeable, because you're putting on effort towards these things. You're living a certain way, and you're going to start seeing those things add up over time, whether those are bad habits or good habits. For me, like for what I do, I'm a financial advisor, and normally the last 2-3 weeks of December are very, very slow. So my life totally shifts during that time period. I kind of focused on some other things. A lot of it was just relaxing and just kind of like hanging out with family and friends, getting some stuff ready for the next year for coaching, for hockey, and setting some goals and some, expectations and guidelines for work. But instead of meeting with clients on a daily basis and having calls, I was getting a lot of things wrapped up and prepared for the new year. Where with January, those efforts and that compounding work that I did to prepare, and even the time that I took off that allowed me to kind of get rejuvenated and refreshed, that effort has compounded and gave me some momentum to start the year in a strong way. So, now that it's January, it's one of the busiest months of the year for me, in pretty much like the whole financial services industry, because people get things done to start the year. They're closing, reports and reviews from the previous year. They're getting things ready to evaluate their investment accounts, their portfolios. They're looking at their tax stuff. So I don't mean to go into all that and bore everyone, but my point is a lot of times what you're doing in life is you're building for that next day, and you're building for that next thing, and it all compounds over time, and you build some momentum with that. I think a great example of that right now, which is, what I touched on earlier, why we didn't record yesterday, is the Detroit Lions. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to go into a whole analysis on, why the Lions have won and why they're still in it and why they've had the season they've had and all the success, almost at random, from an outsider's perspective like me. I'm not versed in the sport of football to know like every detail and to give you like a full rundown on things, but I do know that momentum is a thing in the world, and confidence and identity and energy, they all add up over time. And the Lions just seem to be this team that they have this whole culture and excitement where they're just proving people wrong, and they're having fun every day. Like a lot of people are talking right now about the Lions, and it's like pretty much the whole season, but especially the last few weeks, going into the playoffs and now in the playoffs, like Honolulu blue is suddenly a cool color to wear in the city of Detroit and the surrounding cities. Like I don't think I've really ever owned a piece of Lions apparel or merchandise, even as a kid. Like I don't really wear sports teams logos. It's one of my weird things as an adult. Like I only wear things that I was affiliated with as a player, as a coach, or something that Griff was affiliated with. So that leaves me to a very small amount of logos that I allow myself to wear for sports teams. But the Lions are like, I open up social media every Saturday, every Sunday, obviously, and it's just like people are posting the Lions this, the Lions that. They're going to the games. They're going to bars to watch it. And even me and Griff, like, we've been more excited about it than we ever have before. Griff's paid attention to football way more than I have throughout my life, and the Lions specifically. But, that energy and that momentum and that compounding effort of the Lions has now taken a whole city and it's all of its citizens and from the Metro Detroit area, and everyone is just kind of a Lions fan at this point. And they're maybe not cheering them on to the same degree. Obviously, there are haters of the organization as well, but everyone's aware of what's happening. So I think that's just pretty cool. It's one of those things, like I said, you've got the momentum. Thankfully for the Lions, it's good because for a long time, that momentum was bad. They were a bad organization. They were embarrassing. They went 0-16. They didn't develop players the way that other teams were, and they were just kind of like a embarrassment to the whole league and to the city of Detroit and the whole thing. So that's an example of the negative momentum. But like I said, they've really changed it. And, again, it just seems like they have a lot of confidence. They're really embracing proving people wrong. This whole identity of just like having fun with it. And it's pretty cool to see. So like I said, I don't want to go on the whole football analysis of all of it. I'm not the guy for that. But it is cool to see, the mentality they have of, grit and just the energy and excitement. So, and I feel like a lot of this energy and excitement for the Lions organization started with their head coach, Dan Campbell, from his very first day on the job. His opening press conference, he got chirped and he got made fun of hard for that by a lot of people. And it was one of those things where, he said, we're going to get hit. It's going to take a couple hits to knock us down. When we get back up, we're going to bite your kneecap off. And then when we're coming up, you're going to hit us again. And he's just the whole thing. Like, everyone knows that press conference. But that mentality of just like, we're just going to do it. We're going to be tough to play against. I feel like the team has totally taken that identity. So it's pretty cool to see. And it's been, I've never experienced the Lions in a fun way and kind of the energy around the team. So it's pretty cool. So like I said, I'm not really the guy that give the breakdown on like the analysis of the Lions and their systems and their strategy and that type of thing. But I can talk hockey. I can talk hockey even when I'm just sitting here alone without Griff too. So there's 3 notes that I put on different hockey items that I wanted to touch on. So the first note I have is that Corey Perry signed yesterday with the Edmonton Oilers. It seemed to be a big surprise for a lot of people that he was signed already, or even signed at all. I think what it shows is just that every team was able to kind of do their due diligence on him and on the scenario with the Blackhawks, and ultimately just decide, can they handle whatever happened, and are they okay with bringing him into their organization? A lot of the insiders have came out and said that they don't even know the hardcore facts or details of what happened in that scenario, and it's not on us to give that context. Obviously, I don't know Corey Perry. I'm not involved with the Blackhawks. I don't know any of that stuff either. But what I do assume is that the teams did their research, talked to the right people, made sure that everything was good with him, that they wanted to still invite him into their organization, because it is a gamble signing someone in the middle of the season, especially whenever it was, after a suspension, with all the rumors and all the feedback, or all the commentary that was out there about it. But he's a player that I think every team that's in playoff contention would be looking at. A lot of the other podcasts, and I read on Twitter that there was a number of teams that were trying to, that were interested in him, and that does not surprise me at all. He obviously is a skilled player, but he used to be more of one of those skilled guys, and he would wear teams down, and he was gritty and, would get under people's skin. But he's known as being that guy nowadays, but he brings a lot to the table. There's a reason that Montreal wanted him, that Tampa Bay wanted him, that Dallas wanted him. There's a reason that all these teams have signed him over the last handful of years to play that role. And there's a number of teams that I would not have been surprised if they signed. I think the Oilers are completely lucky to have signed him and to bring him into their team. The only thing that's a little abnormal for me, or when I think about this, is that the Oilers are on the streak they're on. I think it's like a 13-game win streak right now, and you don't want to sign someone and like come in and mess up that mojo or that positive momentum I was talking about earlier. But still, he's a depth piece. He's going to be someone that can, irritate their team and get under their skin and wear them down. So the Oilers are obviously a team that have, playoff aspirations and Stanley Cup aspirations, and he's known for coming to teams and helping them kind of get to those points. So I think it's a huge signing by the Oilers, And if I was an Oilers fan, I would be, completely pumped that they were bringing him in. So hopefully everything works out for him and the Oilers, and they can make a run and, have some success together. So the next note I have is about the NHL All-Star Game jerseys that were just released like last week for the game in February. And, there was a lot of feedback and criticism on these jerseys by a lot of different fans. But the thing that everyone needs to remember is that the NHL is a business. So they are like a little bit different with the style. They're not just traditional jerseys. And a lot of the times the All-Star Game jerseys are like quote unquote ugly. Like a normal NHL team wouldn't wear something that looks like this. And I agree with these ones. They are like unique jerseys, but the NHL partners with certain companies and certain people to sell their product. And the game's being played in Toronto. If you think about who one of the biggest celebrities from Toronto is, it's Justin Bieber. Has a friendship and a relationship with Matthews and some of the other Toronto guys. And Justin Bieber is one of the owners of Drew House, the fashion company. So they partner with Drew House to create those jerseys that are unique to Toronto and for that event. So then they can promote Bieber. He can promote the jerseys. Drew House can promote them. It's a whole thing. So I think that gets lost in a lot of things. Like we did a whole thing on the reverse retro jerseys and the retro jerseys and alternates and all that stuff last week on the Fellows Pod. Anytime a team is putting together jerseys to be released to the public, they're not normally just releasing them because someone in their marketing department was like, hey, I've got an idea for a cool jersey. It's normally for a reason. If you think when the reverse retros and if you think back to when the retro jerseys and all those new jerseys came out a few years ago, it was right after COVID. Who lost a lot of money during COVID? The NHL and every other business. So they sell jerseys and they put together this idea to, have every team redo their jersey and come out with something so that they can sell money or they can sell the product and generate additional revenue that they lost because there was no games being played with fans in the stands and that whole thing. So it's another route for them to create revenue for the league. So when you consider things like that, like the jerseys make sense to me, the partnership. I don't necessarily love the jerseys. I'm interested to see how they look in the moment because obviously we just see like the pictures of them. But, like I said, Bieber, Drew House, Matthews, Toronto, like it all kind of goes together. So I'm not overly surprised that this is the route they went with. And this is the partnership they chose for it. The last note I have on here is a clip that I saw that Griff actually sent me on Twitter over the weekend from Saturday night. It was the Colorado Avalanche versus the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm a huge MacKinnon fan. I think he is one of the best players in the league, and I think most people would probably agree with that at this point. But one of the things about MacKinnon is that he is incredibly competitive, and he's just like one of those guys that's just driven, and he just does the job. Like, there's all those stories about how serious his diet is. Like, he doesn't eat pasta before games. He eats sweet potatoes. He does all these different things that are a little unique to athletes to just kind of stay like extra focused. And I'm not necessarily surprised by that because, his main mentor and his friend, that his role model was Sidney Crosby, both Nova Scotia guys. And Crosby's like that. He's very private, very low key, just competitive, does his job, doesn't really get involved with anything away from the rink like that. And that's a lot of how MacKinnon is as well. So in this game from Saturday night, the Avalanche are playing the Flyers. It's 6-4. Colorado is winning, and there's like a minute left in the game. Philly's got their goalie pulled. At the time of this clip, MacKinnon has 2 goals and 1 assist, and his teammate, Logan O'Connor, also has 2 goals. So in the last minute of the game, MacKinnon gets the puck. He's going in on a breakaway. Easily can just skate the puck in, tap it into the net for his hat trick. However, he sees O'Connor skating right up with him. O'Connor's never had a hat trick before. MacKinnon and O'Connor both have 2 goals at this point. MacKinnon just leaves the puck for him. O'Connor buries it. So it was his first hat trick of his career. Just a super cool clip because MacKinnon's had plenty of goals, plenty of hat tricks. He gets the puck. He could have easily just took it himself. but he leaves it for his teammate. Logan O'Connor buries it for his first career hat trick. Just a super cool clip. Anytime that we see something like that, it just kind of, brings a different side of the game because, O'Connor, like that hat trick is probably more meaningful in that moment than MacKinnon. MacKinnon wants the hat trick. Like I said, he's super competitive. He's in scoring races, point races, all this, and he still gets an assist on the play. But he didn't need to make that pass to his teammate. He did that because he's a good teammate. He's a good guy. He's a good leader of that team. He wants to, let O'Connor just fully take in that moment and give him that memory. So I just thought that was super cool. Like I said, Griff sent that to me, and immediately I was just like, that's sick. So I made a note just to be, remind ourselves of that and kind of just touch on that real quick. That's all I've got for today. Thank you guys for listening to the solo pod here. It's been a little weird without Griff. Like I said earlier, just, stopping and starting and, getting our notes together, or get my notes together. But either way, just wanted to keep building on that momentum of, the weekly uploads and just kind of keep on going from there. So thank you guys for listening as always, and we'll see you next week.